On this Zoom with me? Can you hear me talking? Somebody unmute yourself and say, sweet.
Yes,
thank you. All right, I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and we are going to get started. Okay, before I get started with class, my in-class kiddos, I am going to be absent on Thursday, okay? So, but what's cool about the way that things are going to be going this year is we're not going to skip a beat, okay? So just because I'm absent doesn't mean you're going to have just video work, okay? I'm going to pre-record your video, okay? Like we did that one day where you watched the Ed puzzle. I'm going to pre-record that video, and then when you come to class on Thursday, make sure you have your headphones so that you can watch that video in this class period and do your work, okay? Just like the people are going to be doing virtual. I think that's great because typically when I'm absent, I have to come up with something I have to give you to keep you busy so you don't bother a substitute. Well, that's no longer the case, okay? Now I can actually teach the legit lesson just as if I was here, okay? So that's what you'll be doing on Thursday. If you're an in-class student or you're a virtual student, have your headphones so that you can listen to that Ed puzzle and complete your work. Now, they are telling us that you are going to have to check in every period in that period, okay? That I'm going to have to post some kind of live check-in. Okay, now obviously I have this Zoom up and going, so that's one way that we could do it, but I think that it's coming from the school board. It's not Mr. Badgley. This is something above his head that our superintendent wants our virtual students in class, during class, from 8 to 4, just like we are, okay? So that's coming from them. They're in charge, so be looking for that. Okay, tomorrow when you wake up, you have to check in with your first hour during first hour or you're marked absent the entire day in J Campus, okay? So that's your official attendance is first hour. And then if you don't attend in my class, second hour, then I'm supposed to mark you as skipping, okay? So it's coming from them. This is not Mr. Badgley. This is not Mr. Cole. This is Mr. Gorey, okay? So they're working out all the details. There's going to be something that you have to do during that period. I think the issue is what they're finding out is that some students aren't even logging on until like 5, 6, 7 o'clock. Several students have taken jobs. They're like working at Brookshire's and being a virtual student. Well, they work all day and don't actually do their schoolwork, and there's just people not learning, okay? And so that is an issue, and that's not you guys. You guys are doing a great job, but you're in the same boat because we're all in this together, okay? So it shouldn't be an issue for you guys. Should be something that is just as easy as clicking, I'm here, and you're good to go, okay? It's going to be an issue for the people that work from 9 to 5 at Brookshire's to check in every hour and say that they're here, okay? They don't want students doing that is what they're trying to do, I think. I mean, I'm not in charge. I have no idea, but that's what I'm assuming is going on. Okay, we've already watched this. If you're here with me, okay, you've already watched the do first, must watch, so you could just go in and mark that done whenever you get onto your module, and then you can see today's lesson. You would click on today's lesson. It is going to bring up did I give you one? This is your very first day. Yeah, let me get you one.
Hey, Ms. Cole.
So you can see that this opens here and it's got that gray window. That's where you're going to see your PDF. I did it in a new window just because it's going to give you more space to write and to complete your work. You're not going to be quite as crowded. Like, this is going to be embarrassing to you, I'm sure, but was it you or was it your brothers that were in my daycare class? Your brother? Okay. I think you're, yeah, at Calvary. Was it Garrett? I thought so, I thought. I was in college. Oh my gosh, that was a long time ago. You're welcome. That's wet, so let it dry. Oh, it did this first hour too, you guys. Okay, yours should open just fine, but for whatever reason, mine's not working, so I'm just going to open up my document just to make life go a little smoother, but yours should work. Is anybody in and can actually get theirs to work? Has anybody clicked on that gray thing? Nobody has done that yet? Okay. I mean, I just,
Yes, I have.
okay, good. Someone has on the virtual side. Thank you. All right, so for me, I would be doing my work on my workbook, but that's me. I like to do math on pen and paper. Okay, if that's you, get your workbook out. We are going to be in lesson 1 and 2. My goal is to cover both of these today. We'll see how far we get. You're going to learn that I am pretty easygoing. You may have already realized that. I don't want to stress, and I don't want to stress my students out. That's not my game. I don't want to do that. So some days we'll get it all accomplished. Other days we may not. If we don't, we'll just adjust. It's no big deal. Some days technology doesn't work, like right now. I will tell you this too, and this is bad news, but I sent an email to Mr. Badgley that I received from a student that basically said, I don't have cell phone, or I don't have service today. I don't have Wi-Fi and my cell phone is not working. And Mr. Badgley just said, give him a 0. So, y'all, I told you that email came from Mr. Badgley. So they are trying to hold people to the fire. Like, you may have to go sit at McDonald's and use the free Wi-Fi, but you got to get your work done. So I don't know. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Just between me and you, I will probably be graceful to you just because that's my personality. Like, I don't want to slam anybody and be like, you get an F, you get an F, you get an F. But that's my classroom. I can't tell you that's what your other teachers will do. Mr. Badgley said give you a 0, okay? All right. So on a lighter note, let's talk about some geometric figures. Yay. All right, so you had, Miss Dean, you know all about boxing and underlining, all of those things. Y'all did that last year, right? All right, so what do we box? Do you remember? The verbs, right? You box your verbs. I'm going to be writing on top of this document, and it goes away. So you need to make sure you keep up with me if that's what you're wanting to do, whether you're virtual Zoom or whether you're in class. We are going to identify, describe, and name points, lines, line segments, rays, planes, using correct notation. Okay? And then we are going to identify and name angles. Now, remember last week I just kind of did some worksheets with you guys, some geometry basics. This is kind of exactly what we just did, so we're going to really fly through this. That's why my goal is for us to get through most of this. Now, what you need to know, if I write it on the board, that's considered notes. If I skip something, you can skip something, okay? But you can't skip something just because you want to skip it. Like, you got to do what I do, okay? That's how you get your notes. All right, so if we look at the first 6 things, they want us to, it says below are some figures you have seen in earlier mathematics courses. Describe each term using your own words. If you can recall the mathematical term to identify the figures, you can use them in your description. So I want you to do 1 through 6, naming them what you would name them or describing them with your own words. I'm only going to give you about 30 seconds to a minute, so get busy. Did I give you a book? Okay, good. All right. What do we call this first one? point Q. Okay, that is point Q. What is number 2? Array, and we can call that FH. That's okay. Or you could call it FG, but you can't call it FGH. Only 2 letters. Okay, 2 letters to describe that. Same thing with the line. Number 3 is a line, so I'm going to call that XZ, and I have 2 arrows on top. That represents a line. So this is a line. This is array. Okay, what is number 4? It's a segment, and we call that DE, or you could say ED. What about number 5? What is number 5? It is an acute angle, and we would name it angle A. Remember, it's appropriate to name it with a single letter as long as it is the vertex. So remember, the vertex is the point where your 2 rays join. Over here, what would we call this one? An obtuse angle, and its name is angle RST, or, or what? Angle TSR, and I heard the other one, which is just angle S, using just the vertex. Now, those are the names that I just named. Some of you use some good words to describe them, being acute, obtuse, all of those things. Number 7, I can't see on my screen, but what is number 7? It is a plane, and how would we name that plane? That's right, 3 non-collinear points, or with the italicized X right there. It's okay to call it plane X because it's an italicized, it's its name, plane X. Or you could say, like he said, 3 non-linear, so you could just pick any of them, J, K, T, or any of them. Just 3 though, even though there's more than 3, you just pick 3, that's its name. Any questions about naming those figures? All right, next page. Rocking and rolling. You are doing great. Virtual kids, if you've got questions, y'all just unmute yourself and speak up. All right, so here's some definitions and some examples. I'm not going to go over each one of those. I think that we probably have already touched each of those, but that's there for you. Now, number 8 asks you to give the geometric figure. It says identify the geometric figure and give all possible names. Okay, so they have more than one. So this wants all of them. So go. Oh, there's more. Okay, well, that one's super extra. Yes, sir. I don't think so. I think you just have to write out the word plane. All right, did I miss any of them? Did I miss any of the names? I think I got everything. Okay, so, I mean, like I said, this is a little excessive. But, I mean, you could do any of the 3 letters in any way and it's still okay. I think that's what they're wanting you to see right there. All right, skip to that next page. I know it feels like we're flying, but that's fine. This should hopefully be a review for you. I want you to draw ray FE. Draw ray FE. Explain where point F and E lie on the ray. Who's my end point? F. Why does F have to be the end point? That's where it starts. Do you see that it starts with F where the line is like stopped? There's nothing there. There's no arrow. That is our end point. And E just is somewhere along the ray. It's going in the direction of E. So F is our end point going to E. Now, you could do it this way. That's fine, but still, F is your end point. E is going in the direction of the arrow, okay? So it doesn't matter which direction the ray is going. It matters that your end point is F and that E is along the ray. Number 10, Caleb says that the figure below can be named line KJ. Jen says the figure can be named JL, line JL. Who is correct? Both. Both are correct, okay? It doesn't matter which 2 letters you choose, but when you name a line, it's just 2 letters, okay? All right, so let's look down at example A. We're skipping 11 and 12. I think we have a good understanding of that, so we're going down to this one. It says, there are 3 ways to name an angle. Use the angle symbol with a number, like if they name it number 1, number 2, number 3. Use the angle and the vertex, which we talked about. The vertex is where the 2 rays meet, the middle of your angle. Number 3 says use the angle symbol and 3 points on the angle. Just like what we just saw with that line, sometimes you'll have 4 points on that angle or 5 points on that angle. You're just using 3, okay? All right, so here's our example here. They can call it either angle 1, because it's angle 1. The vertex is B, so they can call it angle B, or any of these 3 different ways to string those letters together. Good? Beautiful. So I want you to do, let's just go ahead and just do A. Everyone just do A. All right, so angle 3, did you get that one? Angle Y, angle X, Y, Z, angle Z, Y, X. Can I say angle Y, Z, X? No, why not? That's right, your vertex must be in the middle. Vertex must be in the middle. Do number 13. Draw me a figure that could be named angle LMN. How many of you, raise your hand if you drew an acute angle? Almost everyone always draws an acute angle. How many of you drew an obtuse angle? See, less. It always is like that every time. Did anybody draw a straight angle or a right angle? Those would have been fine too. All right, but it doesn't matter as long as M is your vertex. You could have put L and N on either side. Yes, the arrows show that it's continuing to go, so yes. No. That's a great question. Thank you, Lizzie. Your angle does not have to match mine. Just as long as it is accurate, then you're good. Okay? All right. We are going to go on to the next lesson, but this, you guys, is your homework. There may be enough space for you to do this one on this page, but if not, do your homework on a separate sheet of paper, and just like you saw in my tutorial video, take a picture, put it on that extra sheet of paper that I have for you, okay? All right, so let's go. Let's flip the page to lesson 1-2. Yes, sir. So far, we see how far we get for this next one, okay? All right, so it says describe angles and angle pairs. So we're going to describe as our verb, angle and angle pairs are our nouns. Then we are going to identify and name parts of circles. Now, we have not talked about circles yet this year, so this is definitely something that's a bit new for us. All right, number one. Number one wants you to draw 4 different angles with different characteristics. What type of 4, what 4 do you think you're going to draw? A straight, obtuse, acute, and right. Draw. Draw me 4 different types of angles. Make sure you give them all either a name with a number or letters. Like you could just say 1. You could just put a 1 there, and that would be angle 1. Whoa. Okay, yours don't have to be exactly like mine, but I've got my 4 there. For these, I just use numbers 1 and 2. For this one, I used 3 letters, A, B, and C. And for my right angle, I used the letter D to represent it at the vertex. Make sure with your right angle, you put that box in the middle so that you know and I know that it is right, because we never assume an angle is right unless it's said, okay, unless it's told. Yes, ma'am? Yes, typically they won't do that for a straight angle, but that is correct. All right, cool. All right, so let's look at number 2. This is some new information for us. I gotta get my buttons straight. All right, so if we look at number 2, we're comparing and contrasting these angles. So if we look at letter A, okay? How many angles do we have on letter A? We have, well, I guess there are 3 there, okay? One of them, angle 1, is acute angle. 2 is, and together they are straight angle, okay? Do you know what we call those? Supplementary. Okay, so these 2 angles are supplementary. Have you heard that word before? Supplementary straight line. Think about that in your head. Supplementary straight line. The S's go together. Okay, supplementary straight line, it forms 180 degrees together. Okay, one of them is acute, one of them is obtuse. Or what's another option that we could have for supplementary angles? That's right, you could have two right angles. Okay, two right angles together would be supplementary. Supplementary straight line. All right, so then B, what does it look like we have over there? That's right, we've got two acute angles, and together they form a right angle. Okay, now we don't know if that's an angle bisector or not. That's not clear to us, not important. We just know we have two acute angles. Together they form a right angle. Do you know what we call those? Complementary. I probably spelled that wrong. That's like all over. I'm sure y'all don't see that, but like the teacher memes or whatever, they're like, I'm learning that none of my kids' teachers can spell. That's me. That's definitely me. I apologize. All the parents that are watching this Zoom video, apologize. Now, those are complementary. The way we think about that is corner. C, corner, C, complementary, because a 90-degree angle forms a corner, okay? S, straight line, supplementary, C, complementary, corner, okay? Hopefully those little things will help you if you want to write that to the side, something that's going to help you remember those things together so that you can identify those. Now, I skipped this on number 1, but number 1 and number 2, what are the little angles? What would we classify those as? Anything else you could think of that we would classify those? Say it again. Like, there's another name that we can call for angles that are right there beside each other. Starts with an A. Adjacent. And that may be a vocabulary word that you just haven't heard before. So both of these are adjacent angles. Let me make sure I spelled that right. A-D-J-A? Yeah, adjacent. Okay, so these are adjacent angles, and those are adjacent angles because they are touching. You are adjacent. Think about your neighbor. You and your neighbor at your house, y'all are adjacent neighbors, right there beside each other. You probably share a piece of grass that somebody's got to cut because it's adjacent. Yes, sir. You're just chilling? Okay, cool. Yes, that's great. Thank you. I need to add that. Complementary is 90 degrees. Supplementary is 180. Okay. All right. C, when we look at those, what's 30 plus 90? Oh, dang. What's 30 plus 60? 90. Okay, so since their sum is 90, what would we classify them as? That's right. Okay, those are complementary. Are they adjacent? No. Okay, they are not adjacent because they are not side by side. Okay, and I mean, I guess you could say they're non-adjacent, but you don't have to say that. All right, what about D? Good. Their sum is 180, which makes them, yep. Just like that. So that adds some new vocabulary to you. We've learned about adjacent, meaning that they're side by side, and we've learned about supplementary and complementary. Okay, questions about that? Man, y'all make this easy. Loving this life. All right. Next page says, recall that the sum of the measures of complementary angles is 90. That's what we just talked about. And that the sum of the measures of supplementary is 180. Okay, number 3. In the figure below, the figure below shows two intersecting lines. Name two angles that are supplementary to angle 4. Who is supplementary to angle 4? 3. Okay, so 3 is, and also 5. If you don't see that, you need to get yourself another sheet of paper and you can slide it over and you can see, whoa, you can see that 4 and 5 form a straight line, and you can also see that 3 and 4 form a straight line. Everybody see that? That's what makes them supplementary. It says, explain why the angles you named in part A must be the same measure. Why do you know that 3 and 5 are equal to one another? That's right, because they share that angle 4. So whatever angle 3 is, oh my. Whatever angle 3 is, we're adding it to angle 4, and it has to equal 180, right? Same thing with this one. Whatever angle 5 is, we're adding it to angle 4, and it has to equal 180. So they have consistent angle 4, which means these two have to be congruent. Okay, they have to be equal to each other. Let's just say that angle 4 is 80. Then what does that make 5 and 3? 100. Okay, both of them would be 100. Now, number 4. 4 says, complete the chart by naming all of the listed angles, types of each one. So it gives you a chart here, and you would then put them in their spots. Let's see how much time we have. Not much. So we're just going to do a couple. Just give an example of each one. So what would be an acute angle in this set 7, 8, 9, 10? Angle 8, angle 9. What about in this set over here? You can't say B. CBD. Okay, what about angle ABF? And DBE and some other ones, okay? So what about an obtuse over here on this set? 7 and 10. Over here, angle FBE. Now, why do I have to use 3 letters over here, whereas I don't over here? It just depends on how the book labels it, how your test labels it, how ACT labels it. It's all going to be determined by how they choose to label it. And these all share a vertex. So since they all share a vertex, I cannot just say angle B. That is not specific enough. Okay, so let's see. Angles with the same measure. Who over here has the same measure? Okay, 8 and 9. They're across from each other. They're going to be the same because they form a line. So who else would be the same? Angle 10 and angle 7. And I always call these like my vertical angles, the ones that touch noses. If they touch noses and they're directly across from each other, okay, those are going to be congruent angles. Over here, angles with the same measure. Who would be our congruent set over here? A, B, who? F, okay. And who is congruent to it? DBE. That's correct. There's one more. That's right. Angle ABD. We're looking at the big one. ABD. This whole thing is congruent to FBE. Okay, I'm rushing. I'm going to quit rushing. We will finish this up tomorrow. Your homework for tonight is that first lesson's homework, 16 through 20 on page 6. 16 through 20 on page 6 is what you are going to submit for your homework. Remember, you are also submitting your notes. Notes and homework is how you get credit for this lesson, whether you are virtual or whether you are in class. That's right, 16 through 20 with your notes, okay? Yes. That's actually, I mean, is this just, okay. Yeah, yeah. So just put those on there for me and then submit your homework and you're good. Yeah. That's right. That's right. Any questions from my virtual folks before I sign off of here? We're about to have class change. All righty.
No, ma'am.